I'm just loving this conversation. I feel my heart just so open and feeling so peaceful. Thank you for that. We are speaking right now with Linda and Charlie Bloom. They're the authors of their latest book, Happily Ever After, and 39 Other Myths About Love, Breaking Through to the Relationship of Your Dreams. And you can find them at bloomwork.com. And oh my gosh, there's so many. I wanted to ask you about, because we're talking about how all this work really is within ourselves, but what's the difference between, we're talking about having unconditional acceptance and love for our partner, and at the same time having boundaries and expectations of what we want for our relationship. So what's the difference? Where's the line?
Well, we didn't write about unconditional love as a myth, but I tend to believe that it is. Do you know, to speak about unconditional love, it's a goal to strive towards, but we're all so imperfect. It's like striving towards perfection. I think it's much more realistic to think that we could go towards excellence rather than the unconditional love. And to have an abundant love, to have a pure love, to have an excellent love, to be able to be patient and committed, and to have boundaries about, this is acceptable to me, but that is not acceptable to me. This would work for me, but this is not going to work for me. And I could stretch into your world, but I would like some reciprocation for you to stretch into my world like this. That in my parents' generation, they didn't really have to negotiate for their needs that much, because the society put a script in their hand about, this is what a wife does and this is what a husband does. And definitely in my grandparents' generation. So we're trying to do something that's new, that hasn't been done in history. And part of what we need to do is to learn how to love big, love abundantly, love fully, love purely, and that includes ourselves, to be generous of spirit to our partner and not to leave ourselves out, to find out what they want and support them to help them get it, and to know what we want and to be on purpose about that. This is quite a balancing act. This is quite a juggling act. There are a lot of moving pieces, and I think people have huge expectations of what they want partnership to be, but they don't really appreciate how many different skill sets and how many qualities we need to grow in ourselves to be eligible for that kind of relationship that's so, so wonderful, that we dream of and long for.
It's like a dialectical approach to life. It's not, we can be in service to our relationship, to our partners, and to the world, and it's not at the expense of our well-being.
That's exactly right. And marriage is going out of style these days. It's not in vogue. And there are more single women in the United States than married women for the first time in history. And I think so many people have a bad attitude about marriage because they think it's work and it's sacrifice and all the things you have to give up, and it's so hard, without realizing that with some effort, with a concerted amount of effort, that the bonanza of benefits are so rewarding. Do you know, to have somebody who knows you really deeply, knows your flaws, knows your magnificent failures, knows the mistakes that you've made, knows your fears and insecurities and your greatness and your magnificence. And sometimes our partner can see us more clearly than we can see ourselves. And they see our strengths, they see our gifts to be given into the world, and they're the believing eyes when we are not quite clear who it is that we are and what our gifts are, what our purpose is, what our mission is. And to have somebody who deeply knows us, who are committed to our well-being, because there's a lot in it for them to be committed to our well-being, because it all comes spilling back on them. That's what we refer to as enlightened self-interest. And they want us to succeed because the happier we are and the more fulfilled, the happier they can be and the more fulfilled when the relationship is really smoking and flowing.
That is delicious. Charlie, do you have anything to add to that?
Um, no, Linda keeps saying everything that I was going to say.